morning to you. I know you may not be listening in the morning, but that's when we are recording this podcast. It's November 11th, 6:06 a.m. in the morning. My name is Michael, and this is the FBTV podcast. It's Veterans Day. Not going to get all gushy and mushy about it. I think the best way to handle it is just like the immortal words of Jack Nicholson in A Few Good Men. A simple thank you will suffice. Thank you. You know, I was thinking about this earlier before we started the podcast. Back in the 80s, everybody started remembering for some reason how the veterans coming back from Vietnam weren't shown any respect, as if they were coming home to a country that wasn't grateful. And I guess at the time that's pretty true. I mean, when you got people spitting on you because you're in a military uniform when you get off a plane, that's not very grateful. But back in the 80s, I remember, I was in my 20s back then, but I remember a big push came on about how the vets weren't appreciated and how we should say, thank you, kind of make up for what happened in the 60s. And 70s, rather. 60s and 70s. And, I had a few friends that had gone to Vietnam, and each one of them, and it stuck to me, wow, man, these guys weren't treated right when they came back, and it kind of hit me. And I took them aside, and each one of them, I told them individually, hey, I appreciate what you did. Thank you for going to Vietnam. Thank you. And just, you wouldn't, unless you could have been there, it's just too hard to describe. Their eyes lit up. They saw, you could see a little bit of comfort coming from that simple thank you. That simple show of gratitude. You could just see it in their eyes. So yeah, a veteran, tell them thank you. No, the wars we may go to, the wars they may fight in, may not be exactly what we choose to fight in or participate in, but they did. They followed orders. Thank you. All right, today's topic, we're going to be talking about, we're going to be talking about what I talked about in the YouTube video, this last YouTube video that posted here just a couple of 2-3 days ago. We were talking about cells during that video, and we're going to continue about talking about sales calls and things of that nature as well. But we're going to be talking about other things as well. Thing on the crazy thing about today, at least where I'm at locally, is the weather. This is one of those crazy fall days where it starts out, we're right at 60 degrees right now. Yesterday we were up in the 70s, beautiful day. And by the end of business today, we will be at or below freezing. One of those weird days. Showing rain for us up till 3 o'clock, then it could, we have a chance of snow. 30% chance, according to the Weather Channel. This is one of those days that the Weather Channel and NOAA just can't seem to agree. The Weather Channel says 30%. NOAA, they're showing rain early, then an 80% chance of snow. So who knows? We'll know more this afternoon. All right. Now, let's, before we get into that, got a little bit of business to take care of. Coffee mugs. They are available on the FBTV website. That's freightbrokertv.com. We have the 11-ounce mugs. Your choice, 2 to choose from. We have a black one and a white one. You can go to our freightbrokertv.com website to order. And as always, if you have any questions, you can post those questions. If you're if you're watching the YouTube videos, you can post them in the comments area, or you can go to our website. As a matter of fact, right below, if you're on our website listening to this, the audio of this podcast, right below the audio. Okay, if you can see, I'm pointing at it. Okay, right below the audio here, there is a form there that you can post your question. Your question will come to us, and we will address your question in a future podcast or video, or both. If you find this on YouTube, I noticed this morning we are up to 41 subscribers. Almost halfway to where we need to be able to start our contest. As we've mentioned in previous podcasts and previous videos, when we get up to the 100 subscriber mark, we will begin having contests. We have prizes going to range anywhere from $15 up to $700, but to be eligible, you must be a subscriber to our YouTube channel and subscribe. Go to our YouTube channel, log in, subscribe. All right, now let's talk a little bit about sales. This is going to be a continuation of what we talked about in the YouTube video. Sales calls. Matter of fact, in the YouTube video, I was talking about one time I went up to Detroit, where my dad's family is from. I spent the summer up there, and I worked for a telemarketer. And watching those telemarketers do their thing, it just blew me away. I mean, just totally blew me away. I was no way a telemarketer. None. Zero. Zilch. Couldn't stand to do it. I felt uncomfortable doing it. It's because I didn't know how to do it. These people were pros. They knew how to work that telephone. Had no qualms about it. I saw these people pick up the phone, and, within just a few minutes, they made a sale, $500, $1,000, $2,000, whatever. And it just totally, I was amazed. These telemarketers, they know what they're doing. And if you're going to be in sales, you got to understand, first of all, being a freight broker is a salesperson. If you're going to be a freight broker, accept it. You're a salesperson, bottom line. So, knowing that, and knowing that pretty much all of your sales, everything you do in sales is going to be over the telephone, it would probably be a pretty good idea to learn all you can about telemarketing. There are books, there are videos, there are probably websites dedicated to it. Learn it. That's not to say you should take everything you learn from these books and videos and anything else you come across and automatically just assume it's right and put it to use. I always recommend to everyone that is in sales, or, I train to be in sales or whatever. There's a lot of information out there. If you don't feel comfortable with whatever the article or the training method or technique is, don't attempt it. If you're not sold on it, you're not going to be able to sell anybody using it. Okay? Now, with that in mind, when you come across these techniques or ideas or suggestions and you think, oh man, use it. You're going to be able to you're going to be able to sell that idea or suggestion or technique or what, because you believe in it. See what I mean? Now, there is overselling. Overselling is when you don't close at the appropriate time and you got to keep on selling. You got to try to get them back. I tell you, let me go back to my first few months when I was in sales. I started out years ago by answering a blind ad in the newspaper, help wanted ad, $100 a week, 2 weeks guaranteed to learn our business. Well, at the time I was unemployed, $100. Now, this is back in 1980, 81, something like that. $100, wasn't great money, but sure wasn't anything to sneeze at, and I went in and applied, and it was basically a job selling insurance. And what the $100 a week guarantee was sitting in the conference room and studying to be able to learn the industry and the rules and regs so you could pass the test to be an insurance agent. I did that for 2 weeks, and to be honest with you, I never, when I went into there and went into that to go to the training, never in my mind was it in my never. And I was there for the $100. If all I had to do was sit there for 2 weeks, get $200, I was happy. It gave me 2 weeks to figure out something else to do. But during that 2 weeks, I started seeing people come in that were already agents, and they were making big bucks in sales. And that got my attention. And I started getting serious about it, because my idea, and I think most entrepreneurs have this same thought or process, that something inside of them. My idea was basically, if they could do it, I knew I could do it. I passed my insurance test. I went out working a week or two with another agent. They were showing me the ropes and things like that. Then it came time for me to go solo. Man, I was ready. I knew I was going to burn it up. I was going to be the best salesperson ever. I was going to start making money immediately. Boy, was I in for a rude awakening. I went that first week, didn't make a penny. And I bet I saw 30, 40, 50 people. I was starting to run low on money. Went out the next week, same thing. Didn't make a penny. Friday afternoon, maybe a quarter tank of gas left in my car, maybe a couple of bucks in my pocket. I couldn't even afford to go to a bookstore to buy any books on selling, but I did have a library card. I went to the library, and I checked out a couple, 2 or 3 books on sales. And that's all I did all weekend was study. That next week I went out, and I made a sale. And the rest is history. Now, what I'm getting at, one of those early sales I made, I'll never forget it, because I oversold it, and what should have been a 15, 20-minute sales call turned into being 3 hours, because I knew I oversold it, and I had to keep on. I wasn't going to leave there without making the sale, because I had already sold it, but I oversold it. You ever oversell something to where the the prospect at this point, they are ready to say yes, write a check, give you cash, they're ready to purchase. And you don't take advantage of it right then, and you keep trying to sell it, that's overselling. And they withdraw. They decide, okay, I'm not going to buy it now. That is a terrible feeling if you're a salesperson. When somebody is ready to purchase, let them buy it. Don't try to keep on selling. They're already sold. Now that sounds like, hey, that's a common sense statement. For most part it is, but you will be surprised when you get in the middle of a sales call how you can really mess that up. It doesn't matter what you're selling. You could be selling insurance, real estate, cars. You could be a salesperson at an electronics store, furniture store. It doesn't matter. There are 3 elements to every sales call. I call them elements. Okay, you got the open, the presentation, and the close. And you've got to know when to move on to the next element. Your open is basically the handshake to get to know you. The presentation is when you are presenting your product or service and the benefits of having that product or service. And the close is actually asking the prospect to take action, to buy. Now, when you start getting into sales, if you study, I always tell everybody, you got to be a student of sales. You just don't learn how to sell and that's it. Yes, you know how to sell, but you got to keep learning. Because you've got to know your product. You've got to know a lot of different close techniques. Remember I said earlier, open, presentation, and close. Close is, again, asking the prospect to take action. In other words, buy your product or service or whatever it might be. Say yes. There are literally thousands of different close techniques, thousands of them. In brokering, we only use a couple, 2 or 3. Just ask, the assumptive close. And then same thing when you're selling load to a carrier. And we go over that all in the training that we provide through Taltoa. If you want to check that out, obviously, you can go to taltoa.com. But what I'm getting at is you've got to know how to close. You've got to know when to close. When you're a freight broker making your sales call, your pitch is short, sweet, to the point. That's the basic pitch. Hey, my name's Mike, I've got trucks around your area all the time, want to get set up with you to help you move your freight, how can I do that? Okay, so it's simple, to the point, nothing to it. Yet you can still screw it up. It's very easy to start overselling. I've had clients that, we made that pitch available to them, and they just thought that was just too short, too simple, too just not enough information, bottom line. And they tried to add to it, maybe make it a 500,000 word pitch. And every single client that did that, they all reverted back to the simple pitch because they found they were overselling. Okay? You got to remember, a customer, a shipper, they have one thing on their mind. Trucks. They need trucks. They need trucks to get in there and pick up their loads, to get their loads delivered to their customer. Keep in mind, those people in shipping, they are employees. If they're not able to do that job consistently, they're not going to have a job very long. They've got to get trucks. They do not have the luxury of, calling the salesperson and saying, hey, I can't get a truck to move that load. You're going to have to cancel that order. They can't do that. I mean, they can do it once, I guess, but realistically, they can't do that. So the short pitch works. Knowing your different closes, the techniques, being a student of sales, learning telemarketing, just growing in what you're doing, that's really going to make or break you. There's a lot of things make or break you, but you've got to know what you're doing. You've got to know what you're doing when you're making a sales call. Yes, and training and, you're going to get the basics, but it's up to you to add to those basics to grow. As you make the sales call, the selling's not over. Yes, they've said yes, they're going to use your service as a freight broker, but you're still selling. You're selling yourself. You're selling the idea of building that relationship. You're selling the idea that you're giving great customer service. I mean, to be able to sell that, you've got to be doing it, obviously, but you're constantly selling, okay, to the shipper, and you're selling to the carrier. You're selling to the carrier because as a carrier calls you, or you're calling a trucking company, you are selling them on the idea of you of moving your load. So you're constantly selling. Freight brokering is sales. The more you know about being a salesperson, the more sales you're going to make, the more loads you're going to move. That makes sense? Keep learning. Don't stop learning. All right. This is the FBTV podcast. My name is Michael. If you just joined us, you can find the podcast on your favorite podcast app. Yeah, we're on TuneIn, Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, you name it, we're there. I noticed the other day we're on some of these apps that I didn't even know the app existed until I came across it by accident. Hey, go to our website, freightbrokertv.com. Freightbrokertv.com. We do have the FBTV continuous broadcast. The broadcast is available on our website only. It's nonstop programming. It includes, well, the YouTube videos up there. Plus, we got additional things, entertainment TV, things you may not, well, you'll probably remember some of the OTV, but may not have seen it in a while, but we have that. But we have things up there from Taltoa, the Pro Trends Live. PTL, Pro Trends Live. We got some those broadcasts that are, well, on the FBT continuous broadcast. It's like regular TV, except it's on our website. Chain laws. Man, we're at that time of the year, probably a little bit late to be talking about this. Probably should have been talking about this last month. The chain laws are in effect. This is for the truckers out there. I'm sure you're very well aware of it. The reason I'm bringing this up now, I came across an article on OIDA's, their magazine. It's called Landline. They got a great article in there about the chain laws, the different laws in the different states, and mandatory carry and things like that. So if you are a driver and you're not sure about the chain laws state to state, yeah, check it out. Landline, I think it's Landline, LANDLINE .media, and there's no .com, just landline.media. Now you may, if that don't get you there, just do a search on Landline, or go to the OIDA website. I'm sure they got the link to it. OIDA, you'll find that at OOIDA.com. Hey, it's Thanksgiving almost. Hold on, I had to take a sip of coffee there. Thanksgiving almost. Thursday, November 28th. What is that, 2 weeks from this Thursday? Boise, Idaho. Boise stage stop. 13th year doing this for drivers. Free turkey dinners. You got to have a CDL, though. And if you're a driver, you have an opportunity to win prizes during the driver appreciation event. I want to say when I was a driver, I was up there, but they weren't giving free turkey dinners back then. But I saw the picture of the truck stop and the Boise stage stop. That just sounds so familiar to me. I used to be up there a lot when I was a driver. But, yeah, free Thanksgiving dinner. So if you're a driver, you're going to be up in the Boise, Idaho area around Thanksgiving. You want to make sure you stop by. Well, trucking is being attacked again, this time by Connecticut Governor Ned Lamont. He wants truckers to pay 7 times more than cars under a new toll plan. It's called CT 2030. Let's see. Lamont's plan is designed to generate $21 billion for infrastructure improvements using a combination of federal funding, borrowing, and tolling on both passenger and commercial vehicles starting in 2023. Tolls would be collected at 14 different locations throughout the state. Jeez. I didn't think Connecticut was big enough to have 14 toll booths. I need to go to look at, well, maybe I'm thinking about Rhode Island. Connecticut, I don't think, maybe Connecticut. I don't know, I'd have to go look. It's been too long since I've been up in that part of the world. Anyway, Lamont says roughly 40% of those tolls will be paid by out-of-state drivers. That's the tourist and people hauling food to your state, Connecticut, people delivering the goods you use every day. They are considered out-of-state drivers. But he goes on to say, and still more will come from the heavy trucks that do most of the damage to our roads. Now, I'll give you that, yes. You know, you got 80,000 pounds plus going down the road 24/7. Yeah, it's going to do some damage. You know, I totally get that. Lamont's plan sets base toll rates anywhere from 50 cents to $1 for cars and $1.25 to $2.50 for medium-sized trucks and $3.50 to $7 for heavy trucks. Now, if you got a Connecticut issued transponder, you might receive a 20% toll discount from the base toll rate. Okay, so if you're in Connecticut, you're a driver, you're owner-operator, you have a trucking company in Connecticut, and you got their Connecticut issued transponder, make sure you get that 20% toll discount. Now, here's why I'm even bringing this up. Okay, we talked about the California here the other day, last podcast, I believe. He started dipping into the money that was earmarked for infrastructure, you know, keep the roads going and everything like that. He decided to dip into it to use it for something else. Something like that was going on. But Lamont says the federal and state law would prevent toll revenue from being diverted for non-transportation improvement projects. They always say that, but then they go ahead and do what they want to do with it anyway. They find some loophole. And believe me, for him to say that now, I would almost bet he already has the loophole. Okay, if it's his transportation plan, CT 2030, he wrote it, he's behind it, he's got something to do with it, he's involved with it, I'm sure there's a loophole where he's going to be able to get his hands on that money. Politicians. You know, I was watching a movie last night. What was that? It was a Richard Gere movie. He was an attorney. It was, what was that? Anyway, never mind. Who cares what the name of the movie was? But had a preacher up there, a priest, talking to a group of people. He was, somebody high up in the hierarchy. And he made a joke because there was a room full of politicians and lawyers, and he was talking about all the politicians and lawyers that he saw at confession that morning. And it was kind of funny because at first nobody laughed and everybody took it as a joke and kind of saw what they were talking about. All right. What do we got here? Here's something. And you know, I have so many mixed feelings about this. It's not even funny. A trucker sues a company over CBD gummy candy. An Illinois trucker has filed suit against a CBD candy maker after he lost his job due to a failed drug test. End of October, the class action suit was filed against Florida-based Just Brands USA and the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of Illinois. In the suit, it was argued that Just Brands USA violated the Illinois Consumer Fraud and Deceptive Trade Practices Act by labeling their CBD products no THC when he says that they do in fact contain THC, because he failed a drug test and got fired. And that's the only place he could have got THC. According to the suit, the driver purchased the gummy watermelon rings made by Just Brands USA in July 2019 to help him cope with sleeplessness. Later, when he was asked to take a drug test, he failed due to the presence of THC in his sample. He blames the candy. Now, okay, here we go. When I was a driver, we had random drug test. We knew we would be tested. When I was a driver, you know, that was so I didn't even want to be around secondhand smoke. I mean, if there was a chance any THC could show up in my system, I avoided it like the plague. Just like poppy seed salad dressing. No way. Anything with poppy seeds, I avoided it. I just did not have anything to do with it. Matter of fact, a friend of mine, he was talking about poppy seed salad dressing. I was still a driver, and he's talking about how good it was, but I refused to try it because it had poppy seeds, because it was kind of a known fact that it could give you a false positive on your drug test, show positive for THC, or drugs anyway. But anyway, this is where CBD, yeah, they say they have no THC, but how do you know? Just like the driver here. By the time he found out that, and that's giving him the benefit of the doubt, that this is the only place he could have, come into contact with anything close to being THC was in the CBD gummy bears. The thing is, it's CBD. If you're a driver, you can't afford to take a chance like that. That's just too big of a risk. I mean, it's just too huge. Anyway, it's turning into a class action suit, and it's open to persons who have purchased Just Brands USA CBD products labeled no THC in the state of Illinois within the 3 years of filing. But I don't know. I'm not going to call the guy a liar. I mean, he's going to a lot of trouble here trying to say he's right. And to be honest with you, who knows? It could have been that batch just maybe wasn't good. I don't understand the process. I don't get it. I know people, you can't go into anywhere anymore, a 7-Eleven or, any type of store without seeing CBD products everywhere. And I don't know, some people really think they provide a great health benefit. I don't know. Don't know. Anyway, we'll have to stay on top of that, over the months ahead, because it's probably going to take several years to play out. Unless Just Brands just decide they want to do some type of settlement so they can, shut this up. I have to wait and see how that all works out in the future. Huh? All right, FBTV podcast, freightbrokertv.com. Check us out. Check out our YouTube channel. Matter of fact, that's pretty much going to wrap it up for us on this podcast. Yes, this is the first one, in the last couple of weeks, and we're going to try to make that up to you. I've been under the weather a little bit, like I said in the YouTube video, and starting to come back around. We'll talk about next time if we got any snow, and if we did, how much. Probably see what the weather's saying now. Yeah, this is going to be my day today. All right, this is it. It's going to be. We're still holding out at 58. Still got a comfortable day out there. Still showing, let's see, by noon we should be at 41. Didn't I say it was 30% chance earlier of snow at 3 p.m.? Now they've got it at 40%. So this is going to be an interesting day. Let's see, before we get out of here, let's see what NOAA's saying. Okay, I know you guys aren't interested in this, but hey, it's one of those days, you have them at wherever you are. And now I'm curious to see what happened here. Yep, 90-90. Yeah, it was 90-80 on NOAA earlier. Now it's 90-90, 90% chance of rain turning into a 90% chance of snow. So it looks like we may see a dusting. At least a dusting. All right. Hey, have a good Veterans Day. Remember, thank a veteran. Shake his hand. Buy him breakfast. Buy him or her a cup of coffee. Okay? Be safe. Talk to you soon.